everybody, welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, Disembodied Hands, Quindy, Disembodied Beard John, aka Reaper Miniatures. He's just wearing the Grand Reaper hat. So that is John. For those of you who didn't know, all of you probably know. And then there was Kiki, who was here and then gave up because I wouldn't let her eat my Overwatch League jersey. Yes, I actually own a sports jersey, but it's an esports jersey. It's pretty snaz, you must admit. It is pretty darn snaz. Anyway, Mayhem Go. It's the playoffs. It starts today. It ends on Sunday. My grand finals. My beloved esports league is about to dissolve, most likely. So this is the last Overwatch League I'll ever get. Although I'm sure Overwatch esports will exist. Nonetheless, I was a little sad. Like, for 5 years, this thing kept me, like, going. Team Mayhem, yeah. I love the freaking bomb with the palm tree. Like, I'm all about this logo. Yeah, so I'm a Florida fan. I used to be a Texas fan, but then all my favorite players, like, totally left those teams. And I was like, you know, this season, even from the end of last season, I'm just like, go Mayhem. So, yeah. So it fits, right? Kiki should want to eat this. Also their color scheme, by the way. Should want to eat this, but she wanted to eat it and I wouldn't let her. So then she went sulk dog. This dog actually does sulk. So yes, that's me today. Hi, Roger. Yeah. So yes, I'm sad. I'll have to find out. I'll figure out a way to watch my Overwatch, esports. Now it'll be all over the place. There won't be one place for me to go to watch it anymore. It's my single, sports ball thing that I watch. Okay. I know, Quindy. Like, this dog, she will, too. She just kind of, like, goes down the floor and she looks at you. She gives you the sulk face. It's really, really silly. But yes, that's my single sports jersey that I own. Have ever owned, actually. So, yay Mayhem. I contributed. They're also the only team, I think, maybe the only team, certainly one of the only teams in the Overwatch League to actually be profitable. All the others hemorrhaged money, which is why the whole league is voting probably to shut down. Everybody seems to be assuming that's what they're going to do, and I think they're correct. So, all right, let us look at. We said we were going to do Link's sword today. I'm just going to call him Link. He's not, but I'm so used to you calling him Link, Wendy. Yeah, most people are only vaguely aware of it. I don't know. I got into it. I used to watch it back before Overwatch League. I don't know. I started watching. I tuned into a cast because I loved Overwatch. And so I was like, I guess I'll check out this competitive thing. You know, I've never watched competitive esports. And it was like the casters that were on are not with the Overwatch League anymore. But they were like, I don't know. It was like Greek philosophy. And like, I was like, who the heck talks about Greek philosophy on a freaking esports stream? And so I kept watching. And then I got hooked. So then when Overwatch League started, I was so excited, and I've watched, I mean, I'm one of those people who doesn't just have like one favorite team. I usually choose 4, and then I follow them throughout the season. So yeah. It's a thing. It's my thing. So I'm one of those. I do love it. I don't watch any other esports because I don't really play any other computer games. This thing is I'm attracted to watching the games that I play, right? So I do watch, like, the World First raids, World of Warcraft stuff with David, because David watches those. Yes, yeah, right. Oh, Kitten SSC was a barfer, huh? Yeah, home painting rather than at work. Yeah, I feel that. Yep. All right, cool. So, one thing I want to do, let's get in focus. Is my purple isn't showing up because it's such a narrow band of purple up at the top. I think I'm going to underpaint. I already underpainted once with white, but I think I'm going to underpaint with white again toward the top. And I'm going to glaze with that violet red, which is the color that I used. Unless, of course, I put it in a different place. There it is. So I'm going to make a glaze with it, and I'm going to punch up that color just a little bit. I can see the purple a little. I just want to see it a little bit more. Anyway, so then, now you guys can, like, I'll tell you if my team wins, but otherwise I won't regale you with esports ridiculousness. Just because I'm into it. All right, so let's make it. Ooh, I forgot to put some things away yesterday. Totally gonna fix that. I've been so good about putting things away since I cleaned off my desk area because it makes me happy to come in and see my clear desk. Like yesterday I was in a hurry, so I didn't. Luckily, it was just yellow. Hey, Daffodware. But yeah, so we're going to get this little bit of, and I need whites, and then we're going to do our NMMs on the sword. So after stream, I'm putting on my jersey. Well, okay, actually, after stream and after walking Kiki, I'm putting on my jersey. And watching games. All right, so I guess I have to, if I'm going to show you my consistency, I have to actually get him focused down here again. Wow, that was very inefficient of me. Preloaded with intestinal hitchhikers. Aw. Aw, poor SSC. Yeah. All right, so we're going to keep that pretty strong. And we want this to be really thin. I always tell you guys, I usually start with a 1 to 2 on my glazes, meaning 1 paint, 2 water. And that might not even be enough. But this might be okay, because I want a pretty strong glaze. I want it to show up. That's really strong, so we'll see. Oh, nice, Quindy. Finished a figure. Nice. Awesome. Good job. I was out of energy last night, so I did not paint. I did do more messing around at my Nomad sculpts, though. Although I think I might be running into the problem with the RAM. I think I'm going to start hardcore saving for a better iPad. Which is going to be a bit of a hardcore save. I'm going to have to figure out how much money I can put aside. Because I think I'm going to try to get it by Christmas. I'm still going to keep up with my lessons. I think I'm going to go over and check out the Steve Conley one that you guys told me about. And then I'm going to check out the one that Andy told me about, which is, actually, for those of you who might be interested in 3D sculpting, let me look up who he recommended. Andy. There he is. Yeah, it's the number of vertices you can work with. I think I should be able to. Yeah, no, he says not good enough. Not likely enough for full scratch mini sculpts if it's under 8 gigs of RAM. All right, let's see. Southern GFX channel, actually, on YouTube, he says. Southern GFX. I'm just going to rewrite that down so I don't have to look for it again. I do remember looking at it, and the Southern GFX guy seems to use, like, everything and do all sorts of stuff, so... So, yeah, Nomad. Oh, in the sick club. Yeah. Yeah, I've decided that this new diet sucks because I actually got a cold finally, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I've not had a cold for 10 years. Not since I went keto, low carb. And then I switched to this, like, different diet because I was, lifting and everything. I tried to put in more protein, and I dropped my fat, and I let myself have more carbs. Guess what? I got sick. First time in 10 years. I think I'm going back to low carb, guys. And if I go another 10 years without getting a cold, then I will consider to have proved that low carb essentially is so good for my immune system that it enables it to fight off all the crap. All right, let's do this stripe up on this banner. I'm just going to do the center. I still want to keep some of the more purpley color. I just want to see if I can pop this color a little bit more. So I've got to be very careful. The problem is it's such a tiny space, right? So you have to have really good brush control. Reaper Live is exhausting. Why am I not surprised? Yeah, I'm kind of excited to paint that barbarian dude after we talked about making him a vampire yesterday. So I'm gonna say we'll do a 4 model rotation and see how much progress we can make on everybody. And of course, the witch will be done earlier than the others because we started her already. So just carefully doing these little stripes, trying to thicken them toward the top. Let's get back in this focus since I've showed my palette. Yeah, water and ginger ale. Yeah, I gotcha. When you're that sick, it's always annoying. The times my gut has gotten irritated from something because it's super sensitive it's negative fun. The last time was so bad I could only have water for a day. It was bad. Bad. Good for weight loss, not good for anything else. Oh. Yeah, that's naps are power. Naps are definitely power. So yeah, I decided I would keep up with the Nomad sculpt, but that I would keep in mind that I wouldn't be able to get the the resolution. Like even on the little figure that I was working on off of Dave Reed's tutorial, it was a very simple chibi figure, and it just started failing on its smoothing toward the end, where it wasn't able to handle it. So I think that's probably a RAM thing, unless I did something wrong. There's always possible. So I'm gonna try a different one, a different tutorial, and do that. David and I ran into the difference between us last night. As far as our learning process, like if he was me, he's like, why don't you just start sculpting? Like you've watched a tutorial, why don't you just start like sculpting and figuring it out on your own? And I'm like, but I want to learn it quick and I want to internalize it. And so I'm like, I don't want to muck around because every time I have a fail and have to go look something up, I'm wasting time. So I'd rather watch or work through, because I'm not just watching them, I'm actually working through them at the same time on my pad. I'd rather work through another tutorial or two to cement what I know so that I understand the basics, and then I feel like I can springboard, which is what I'm always advising you guys to do. And again, David is key. He learns differently. Everybody's going to learn differently, but for some people who are built like me, doing that whole sit down and just practicing the fundamentals and then going crazy and doing your own thing is the way to go. Oh, eat all the delicious food. I know, Agent Marvel. I feel that so hard. Well, I am too, though, Kuroniko. I am also a self-taught painter. But I'm to the point, and I've realized, because I'm also a learner. Like, I'm very much I'll jump in and learn anything. But I've realized that I get frustrated and waste time. Like, I get frustrated with wasted time at this point. Probably because I'm old, and you don't know how many years you got left. What am I going to say? But I've gotten, as I get older, I see that although you learn a lot when you bootstrap, it takes a certain amount of patience to bootstrap, and it also can be very frustrating and time wasting. And with this 3D sculpting stuff, it can take you a while to find exactly the command you want just through Google searches, right? So for me, at this point, I'm less likely to bootstrap now. I'm more likely to spend some time learning the basics really well. And then chances are I'll know how to use a tool to get to where I want to go, right? So, but yeah, actually David is not a self-taught painter though. Like he has learned mostly through seminars, but that's probably like why he's telling me how he would do it. So David goes to a seminar. He goes to the seminar, he does 2 days of work. And then after that, he just screws around until he figures it out. But he doesn't mind all of the lost time, and it doesn't frustrate him. Well, okay, it does frustrate him, but it doesn't frustrate him that much, apparently, enough to stop him, right? So, yeah, right. So I don't want to go herring off after essentially sculpting one chibi figure that is very, very simple and doesn't even really have a body. You know, I'm not going to go herring off trying to sculpt a miniature. I'm going to take a couple more seminars so that I can see how other people do things and to see, like, you know, and to get really solid, because I even forget the command to mesh all the parts together and the process of doing that, which is fairly simple, but after cramming all, this is a brand new thing, after cramming it all into my brain, I forget it. So I know I need more because I want to be able to do everything basic. To get the basic groundwork done, I want to be able to just do it. I want to know it. Then we'll mess around. Yeah, there was gatekeeping in mini painting. Not everywhere, though, Cornico. Not everywhere. Although I did have to, when I was doing Golden Demon, I did kind of yell at one of my fellow Golden Demon people who was very good and a very nice person, but he was all worried about people stealing his techniques. And I'm like, Bobby, you could hold the damn brush for them and they still wouldn't paint like you. It's like, you just got to get past that mindset. But, you know, a lot of people didn't have me to yell at them. So I'm not surprised there was gatekeeping. I mean, even when Jennifer and Sue and I, Sue Wachowski, who was at ReaperCon this year, and Jennifer Haley and me, when we started teaching, like teaching classes for money, there was an uproar. There was a freaking uproar. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm capable of bootstrapping Kodiak, but it is super frustrating for me these days. And because my time is so very blocked, because I do so many things with my life right now, and I want to be able to do them all. Any wasted time for me, if I took my 45 minutes to an hour that I have been devoting to Nomad, and I had to use a half an hour of that or 40 minutes of that to look up something, that would be frustrating as blazes for me. That would really stall me out in some ways. So I think I've just come to that point where I'm learning the most efficient way for me to learn the process. And I'm just doing that. And learning is kind of my superpower. So, and I am taking notes, copious notes as I go. So that's helping. But yeah, I feel like I want another couple of tutorials, preferably each of them taught by a different person. Right, exactly. You get it. Yeah, and I've got a dog and a husband, and I cook, and then I've got streaming, and I've got Patreon, and I've got writing, and now I'm just decided to 3D sculpt. Yeah, just smack me, guys. Just smack me digitally. I know you all want to smack me digitally with all the crap that I load on myself, but to be fair, I am dropping the dog commitment for the most part, so I'm just relining here just a tiny bit. So I got a little bit of light up there so I can see a little bit of a reddish color a little bit better. That's about what I want. I want people to see that there's a color there. Before, because it was the same value as the gold there, it was really blending in. But that just means we need to do more gold over on the shield and finish it out. But yeah, do I load a lot onto myself because I have many interests? Yes, I do. Am I really good at blocking my time so that I can squish all that into my life? Yes. Yes, I am. I think I've leveled up, actually, in time blocking recently. After ReaperCon, having to do this catch-up. But it's like 2 days, 3 days before the end of the month. Usually I'd be freaking out at this point, and I'm not. I'm just like calm. I've got it all blocked in around my Overwatch League watching, of course. But I've got it all blocked in. I know exactly what I'm doing. The thing that yeah, you love leveling up. I love leveling up too. But the thing, of course, that throws a monkey wrench in all that is things like when Kiki ate a 3D print thing the other day, and I had to rush her to the vet, which, you know, totally ate up. And then you just have to trash that day and put everything a day ahead, because you just can't. So those are the things that frustrate me. But yeah, in general, I think I've leveled up my time blocking a lot. For one thing, I totally, or getting sick. Yeah. Yeah, she's fine. I had to rush her to the vet because you never know, and 3D print resin is still bad for you. So it turns out that although she chewed up the supports, none of it came out. So, because we induced vomiting. I, like, rushed her to the vet, because you have to do that within an hour, or you're done. The dog, or you're done in cutting open the dog, potentially, if it's bad. So, rushed her to the vet, got her there in time, induced vomiting at, like, the 45-minute mark. Stuff came up, but no per 3D print stuff. And this is Kiki. Like, I'm always afraid she's eating stuff, but actually she's just chewing in the little bits and spitting it out, which is great, but oh my God, still, heart attack time, right? Yeah, it was scary. Like, rush. And I'm staring at the vet, who's just asking me more questions. So I'm just like, can you just induce her already? I'm like, I got her here in 20 minutes on purpose, okay? It's like, stop talking to me and just take my dog in back and induce vomiting. Trust me here. Oh, Lordy. So, yeah. So she's fine. She was very sad after that. And now she has even less good associations with the vet. Thanks, world. But yeah, it was just... Do I have my gray liner here, I wonder? Yeah, no, that's blue liner. Where's my gray liner? Yay, gray liner. See, she just likes to chew, though. Zachariah. She loves to chew that plasticky texture. And it's easy to chew them up. So that's why she grabbed them, right? Plus they're mommy and daddy's toys. It was just the supports left from printing a bust. But yeah, I freaked. So yeah, that's what so we're going to use gray liner here, by the way. Gray liner with maybe a little bit of blue mixed into it. So I'm going to get that into the palette. I'm going to mix, I'm going to do cloudy gray. I'm going to do my standard, but I'm going to mix a little bit of blue. I'll pick a random blue to mix into it. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, right, exactly, Twisted Oma. Now do it. You understand completely because you're a no-nonsense woman. Exactly. Oh, Lordy. Yeah, it's like, quit talking to me because I rushed my dog here so we could be in the window where this would work. And you're sitting here taking up time. Just do it. Jeez. Oh, Lordy. So I'm doing gray liner. I'm doing a drop here. I'm going to put my cloudy gray into that to take it down a notch. I'll probably also mix in a little bit of white. But yeah, so... things like that, or when you get sick, you just have to wash those days and it's sunk time, right? It's sunk cost fallacy with time. It's the sunk time fallacy. It's like, nope, you're done. You're just not going to get it done today. It has to happen tomorrow. And then we'll get some pure white over here, and we will, I do have some pure white over there. I guess I could just like firm up my pure white over here. Right, I was worried about that they can be sharp and puncture, that kind of thing. So, yeah. She seems to be fine, though. That happened last week, and she's been Kiki. So, we're all good. All right, so I strengthened up my white. I got my gray. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of white to that. Let me get my mixing brush. Oh, yeah, ice cream with hydrogen peroxide just in case. Yep. Yes. Yeah, I've never had to induce vomiting a dog, and I don't know that I could do it, so I'm just a run to the vet kind of girl on that. You're hardcore, Zachariah. I respect that. I'm going to grab my water. Boop. I'm going to do 2 on that. 1 on that. Then we're going to get a blue. What blue? Random blue. Carbon scoring blue it is. It really doesn't matter. Any blue, gray, or blue will do. If you grab a real blue like cyan, which is heavily loaded with blue pigment, just use very little of it. We don't want to shift this gray to a blue or a blue-gray. We're just trying to add a little bit of complexity, so I'm really going to just squeeze out some of my blue up on top of the palette, like there. And I'm just going to take little bits of it and put it into the other colors. So, boop, like just a little bit. And I'll pop it in there. Boop. And pop it in there. And it's just because you don't want your NMM to read like it's just like illustration. Like it can read very flat and unrealistic if you don't put another color from somewhere. We could use green. We could use the purple. You could use any color that's on the model. I just tend to go for blue because I like the idea of sky reflection. So yeah, so we'll just pop a little bit more of that in there. And then I'll mix it in. Yeah, I'm unlikely to actually do that. Yeah, there you go. Kodiak. Yeah, what Zachariah says. I just would be very distressed dealing with my vomiting dog, so I would be like, that's why I go to the vet, but a little bit more blue. The other thing about adding a little bit of regular paint, quote unquote, to your liner, to gray liner, is it can just smooth it out a little bit. It gives it a little bit more of the qualities of regular MSP and less of the liner base, which is otherwise quite different. All right, so we're just going to go with that. Yeah, no, it's something that every dog owner should keep in their pocket if you think you're up for it, or if you cannot get to the vet in time. I was very lucky in that our vet actually had an opening at that exact time. So I didn't have to go to the emergency vet, which would have cost us double or triple the cost of what it actually cost. I told David that, and he just about lost it. It's like, yeah, emergency is expensive. This is why we pick up all the stuff so that Kiki cannot eat it. So we're just going to start with base coating, just because I like to have a base down. This is almost exactly the same color as the Siocast material, but that's all right. It's a little bit bluer, a little bit cooler. Sir Gambit, they're chemically very different. Liners are more transparent. They're different chemical composition. This is why a lot of people will use liner paints to actually prime their bones miniatures. They stick a little bit more. More transparent, a little bit harder. All those reasons make them great liners, but the translucency is why. I mean, I've got brown liner on my palette here too, because I like that I can thin it, and I can either use a real heavy line, or if I thin it, I can get a much more natural line. This is thinned, so it's not as heavy. I like the translucency of the liner paints, and they flow easier. And we do add extra flow improver to them as well. So that is those things are all separate liners chemically from regular MSP. They mix just fine with regular MSP, but all those things make them different. So we are going to put a shadow down the fuller groove here in the blade. Well, yeah, I was going to tell you guys how my time chunking became so effective. I essentially took a cue from my favorite coach. Has been saying this for a while, but I was always like, I don't have a social media problem. But you know, I essentially made a to-don't list instead to go along with my to-do list. And my to-don't list is anything Facebook anything, Messenger or otherwise. No checking email. No checking my Kindle dashboard. No reading my Kindle. No Reddit. Those things. And that's my to-don'ts. And so I don't let myself read over lunch anymore. And what I have found happens when I don't let myself read or social media over my lunch is that I actually get done with my lunch earlier and can get back to working on my stuff that I need to do for the rest of the day. So I actually save a significant amount of time because I'm more focused, so I actually perform faster, and I don't lose time if I accidentally read 15 minutes longer on my lunch because I'm not at the end of a chapter or whatever. And if I don't let Reddit distract me, and if I don't take a break just to see what's on my KDP dashboard, my ads dashboard, KDP being my writing dashboard. So essentially I cut out all the social media and I'm getting a crap ton more done with my day. Yeah, I never really found like that was a thing so much, Kodiak. The entire thing with me on losing weight is stress. If I can manage my stress, then I will not stress eat and I won't overeat. But if I'm stressed, that's when I have to fight it. So I never have a problem with feeling full. My lunches are actually, I've got good protein and, a lot of fiber because I'm doing I'm kimchi and a big salad. And, the dressing has good fats in it. So I've got fats and protein and fiber and very few carbs, relatively speaking. So I never have problems with my breakfast or my lunch making me feel full. But I do have stress, where if I have stress, then after my lunch, I'm going to try to reach for the sweet, nasty things. Just not because I'm full, or not because I'm not full, but because I'm stressed out. Soothing behavior. Yeah, well, there's different types of overeating, though. Like, what you're talking about is they call it fog eating, Agent Marvel. And that's where you're watching TV or if you're sitting there eating lunch and you're scrolling your Reddits or your Facebooks or your whatever, or your Instagrams. It's because your brain is just focused on something else and it's totally ignoring the food. So it's just not going to notice. Yeah, storm eater. Yep, storm eater and fog eater. Yep. Coffee, indeed. Oh, you need more coffee? Poor Crowley. I'm sorry, Crowley. It's one of those days, Crowley. But yeah, I can be a storm eater, totally. When the stress hits. Then I just reach for everything. And I've managed to eliminate a lot of the trigger foods from my house, So we did a little line of dark down the fuller. Let's get closer here. We'll do a banded effect with highlights and shadows, but first I want to essentially mixed a bit of white into my steel color, my gray, to get a light gray, and we're just going to do that on the upper face. Since this is a sword being held straight out, pretty much, it's actually one of the easiest things to learn NMM on. Just make sure that all the upward facing surfaces are painted with a lighter gray, just overall lighter gray. Yeah, fasting never worked for me. It's just like, I get hangry. I would much rather just have a very small breakfast. But I'm a breakfast eater. Like, if there was a meal that I skipped during the day, it'd be lunch. Like, I'm capable of doing that if I have a big breakfast. I skip lunch or just have, like, something very small, like a granola bar or something. And we're also going to do that light gray along the bottom of the fuller line because that edge is angled upward. Just do it as best you can. Sometimes you can, if the sculpt is very good, you can get away with doing the side of the brush trick. But you might hit the top of the fuller as well if you do that. Not a big deal because obviously both top and bottom are going to be that light gray. So side of the brush, very little paint on your brush, just run it right down and it'll get all those lines perfectly. We'll do that on the front as well. So once again, load up with your light gray. So I'm mixing my cloudy gray mixture with some white to just get a general light gray. Doesn't matter. Somewhere halfway between the white and the cloudy. And I want to make sure I've got very little of it on my brush. So I want to make sure I unload a lot. I'm doing a lot of dabs here. And I'm testing it on my, you see I have a lot of fluid on there. Now I'm going to test it and it's able to do straight. This is a difference. Dabbing it and getting those puddles versus dabbing it and getting a line. You want the line. So let's switch to a better angle to do this from. Using the side of the brush, we're just going to go straight down. But if you get puddles, you never want to do this because the puddles mean that the paint is just going to flow right into that fuller and fill it in. Yeah. Yeah, but I am a breakfast eater. I totally need to breakfast. All right, now we're going to do a couple of shadows down here on the underside of the blade. We could do them in green and brown because we have these colors. We haven't done the ground color yet, though. So I'm going to just go for something in general. I think I'll grab a little bit of my brown liner and mix it with my gray liner. The general advice I always give is that under your highlight should be a shadow. So I am going to block in kind of a shadow under there, but I'm also going to extend it and make little dashes like you do with this new style of NMM. And essentially what you're doing is you're saying there are objects that are disrupting the light reflection here. There are objects in the way. And now because I've thinned, and I did blob my white line, but that's fine, I can get it. Yeah, protein breakfast, exactly what you say, Inara. I do a pretty high protein breakfast. I do have a little bit of carbs because I have to have my oatmeal so I can have my fiber powder. But I keep the oatmeal serving very small. And it is a whole grain, so I seem to be pretty good up to lunch. But I keep my breakfast not on the huge side usually. All right, I think I want to do, and since I started with thinned paint, I don't have a very strong dark line down there yet, so I need to work on that. This is where doing NMM on 28mm can be very difficult because you're trying to do these little thin lines and you've got very little space to work with. So you're probably going to have to do touch-ups like I did. I did a thinned layer of my liner color first over the whole surface. And then I started blocking in those occlusions where the light is disrupted. I have my breakfast pretty dialed in at this point. I find I am a 3-meal-a-dayer, but lunch is my one that I can go, you know. If I had to skip one, I would do a heavier breakfast and just skip lunch. But as it is, I like to have all my meals. That's optimal. Although in Hawaii, Dave and I have agreed that we're doing a really nice breakfast. We're going to one of the tasty breakfast places, and then we're pretty much skipping lunch except maybe having a granola bar or something really light that we pack, and so that we can have a really nice dinner. So we're pretty much taking all our calories from lunch and offloading them onto breakfast and dinner. So that's the way we're going to deal with the temptation of Hawaii. So I'm going back and forth here. I do have to thin my gray a bit now because I'm essentially, I'm not able to blend with it. And I need to be able to blend it into those dark patches. So, yeah, I have the same breakfast food. That's true. You can have whatever you want in the morning. This is true. Yeah, I've got a breakfast I eat every day too, which is essentially a small oatmeal with some coconut oil and chopped up frozen mango in it, which is super fast. And then 2 eggs. Or nowadays it's 1 egg and some egg whites because I pumped up the protein. And I put like feta cheese in the eggs and stuff. But I've got it down pretty fast. I make my breakfast very quickly in the morning. So I'm going to add more water into this gray. Since we've already base coated with it, we don't need it full strength anymore. No. We want to do a lot of things in Hawaii. Sleeping in is like, both David and I don't really have that sleep in. The only time I ever sleep in is if I'm sick. Like if I have a cold or I'm just not feeling well for one reason or another, like if I have gastro crap, then I do But even then I'm less likely to sleep in Pendrake and more likely to get up, do my morning stuff, and then just go back and take a power nap or an hour or two nap if I'm not feeling well. I'm more likely to do that because I'm a morning person. And David is funny. Like during the week when he has to work, he'll hit snooze like a couple times, but then when it gets to the weekend, he never hits snooze. He's always up early. Because it's the weekend and he wants to paint and do a video game and do the stuff that he's working on. So he's really funny. Yeah, the alarm dog kind of says that sleeping in doesn't work too. Because Kiki will definitely do a thing. Yeah, well they add sugar to the sweetener, the sweet ones. That's why I just do plain oatmeal. And then I add my mango. And I add just a tiny bit of honey. And that's my oatmeal. So it's not very sweet. Yeah, sleeping in is like 8 a.m. Yeah, for us, sleeping in would be like... Yeah, it would be. It would be 8 a.m. Agent Marvel. Because David's alarm goes off at like 7 or 7:15. He hits snooze a couple times. I think he goes off at 7. And then he hauls his butt out of bed by, 7:30 at latest. So that he can get Kiki out on her walk by 8. Yeah, the cat feeding. Yeah, the animals. It's the alarm animals. The alarm cats and the alarm dogs of the world. Oh, breakfast until 2 o'clock. Oh, yuck. Yeah, I don't know if I could... That would be hard for me. I mean, I've done it because on days when I have had surgery in the past and you have to fast going in and then you eventually wake up. Like, there was one day I didn't eat till 5 or 6 p.m. And even then they didn't want me to eat much because the surgery was long. So you took some Pure White and put it down the middle, by the way, on the side of the brush just for fun. We'll be doing more with Pure White in a second, but right underneath here we blended in those occlusion lines. But what we need to do is we need to take this Pure White and line everywhere. We could wait till the end for that, and it's smarter to wait till the end. But I like to kind of see a little bit of that under reflection, the reflected light. So I'm going to actually take the light gray and at least go over the underside of this blade to get a little bit of something down there. See it? But yeah, Kiki would get us up every day, even if we were tempted to sleep in. But I've just never been a sleeper inner. I would rather get up, do things, take a nap, like around 2 p.m., get refreshed, do more things. Nowadays, my nap is more like 3:30, but it's because I like to get a lot done right after lunch. And my nap's only like 20 minutes, but I do love naps. Naps are good. I'm going to grab... Actually, I'm doing enough light gray that I'm going to make some in its own little well. So just like that color. It's a misty gray. I could just reach for the misty gray, but I tend to just mix. That's the one thing I don't miss about cats is that mine would wake me up at like 3 or 4 a.m. to feed him. Like he would just wake me up, and if I didn't feed him, there was no getting back to sleep. So I do not miss that about owning a cat. Kiki at least will settle down to a point, but obviously she needs to go, so we need to get her out. Whereas the cats have the litter boxes and don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to put a little bit more lighter gray in some of those underlying areas. You can see that coming up a little bit there. Again, I'm going to use this side of my brush to lighten up the underlying edge. But I do want to bring more of that light down there, so now we're seeing more reflected light. See it? You see it a lot when I put my hand under it, or if I was using this. Now you can see it. So having the gray background is great for like keeping colors regular, but you can see the edge of the blade very well. Oh, Cornico. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to use Kleenex allergy pills, Quindy. It's a little bit better for me today, but it's definitely still bad. Allergy pills. Allergy pill reminder for everybody. Oh, dearie. But yeah, I've come to the point, and I've been testing it over this last bit of changing up my diet a bit, but I've come to the point where I cannot lose more weight unless I do cut calories. So it's like, well, how much do I want to lose this next 20 pounds? Oh, that's nice. All bets are off around 6 a.m. Yeah. Yeah, Quindy, I feel it. Oh, special diet for said cat. Yeah, that makes it hard. But anyway, now that I can see this, I feel like it's actually pretty good. I still need to do the pure white around the bottom edge, but we're doing pretty good. So let's tackle the top then. Now, any shadow occlusions that you put up here are good. They're still going to exist, but they're going to be darker. So what we're going to do actually is do some lighter ones first, but then we're going to use our base color, this, to do the shadow colors on the top. Remember, we put a lighter gray over the entirety. So here, I'm going to be putting a light at the top, maybe a broader light down the middle. Make sure that you also keep these different sizes if you can. It's hard to do on a 28mm blade. Yeah, it's not going to help. You can kind of see there. We'll see a little bit more. I'm going to load a little more white into this light gray. But essentially, I want a short band and then a long band in the middle and then a short band there. You could do the opposite. You could do long, long, short. Doesn't matter. But you do want it to be a variable. You want it to look organic, and you want it to there we go. If you make their bands too regular, they'll look artificial, essentially. They'll look wrong. So now we can see those roughly. Now I'm going to take our base color, which I did thin. I'm going to just put that in as my dark. Because anything facing up, it'll still have shadows, but the shadows will be much lighter than the shadow on the underside of the blade. That isn't always the case. It's if you're painting an outside one, then it is, or a strong overhead light figure. But if you are painting something that's inside, with say a dark ceiling, like if you're inside of a Viking hall, and you know the ceiling is like dark timbered wood, then you can definitely see dark shadows on both sides of the blade. So it depends on the ambient light or lack thereof, essentially, is what you come down to. So I'm going to grab a little tiny bit of my gray liner. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of my cloudy gray. Make sure that I get it very little, and I'm going to pop just a little bit of darker dark in here. And then I'm going to blend that in with my regular cloudy gray by painting over it with the thinned cloudy gray to make it blend a little bit better. But they're still not as dark as that. You can see it. Yep, everybody's different. We're all different. I used to nap a lot in college, then I went years without napping, and now I've found napping again, and I'm happy. But some people really can't nap without disrupting their sleep later, so I get it. There we go. So now if I tilt it, you can see it better. Now, I want to blend that in a little bit better, so I'm going to grab my light gray and kind of just put it right over the edges of these. I want to fade it. And really, it's just little brush strokes, real thin paint, just working it like this. We're going to work it up to pure white in this area now. so that it's not just big spaces of light gray. And we're going to do our pure white lining around it. We're going to do, probably should be doing this on both sides, but of course I've only done the one side, so it is what it is. We'll do the other side. So let's take our pure white. I'm going to put very little of it on my brush. Again, I want control, so if I put it on here, I want to be able to do it with no, I want to be able to do fine lines with no problem. So I can, so good. I'm going to get this fuller again, the area around the fuller, I should say, along out to the point. If your paint's a little thicker, you're going to have to reload more often for this, but it's going to give you a stronger line out the gate. There we go, strong white line. Right up there. There. Right up there. And then a white line on the underside. I'm going to move this out of the way. Then you're napping too long, Perniko, probably. That's what I learned. Is if you can fall asleep fast, or even if you can't, like if I lay down for half an hour max, I set my timer, and usually I can fall asleep within 5 or 10 minutes, which gets me a 25 to 20 minute nap, which I can wake up from feeling refreshed. But the sleep studies that they've done show that short naps, like anything longer than a half an hour, is going to give you that ugh feeling. And of course, you got to do the caveat of everybody's different. In general, though, if I even get 5 minutes, like if I sit there and toss and turn for 25 minutes, but then I get a 5-minute nap, I still feel better. Yeah, difficult to fall asleep. I don't know, Pendrake, that's a good question. I don't think you've technically been asleep long enough to get true REM, but I will dream. I just think it's those shallow dreams rather than true REM. I don't know. I'd have to re-listen to my sleep book. My book on sleep. But that book will put the fear of God into you about not getting enough sleep, so it's not my most relaxing read, so I haven't re-listened to it in a while. It did make me prioritize my sleep above all else, though. Yeah. Well, you could do, I mean, the other thing that I do, Kuro, is honestly, I always go lay down for my half hour. Even if I can't fall asleep. Oh, yeah, right. Even if I can't fall asleep, I try to make my brain, like I do my meditation practices, essentially. I do my imagining thing that I do to settle my brain into meditation. And then I still feel better after my half hour lie down. Even if I don't sleep, I still feel better. But I've got a little meditation sequence that I imagine, and it helps to make my brain relax. It's really weird. I imagine my brain like it's inside of a box, and then I slowly imagine the sides going down, starting with the front, and then the side, and then the back, and then the other side. And for some reason, this just makes my brain, and then I imagine the top flying off and just disintegrating and flying away into the blue sky. So that my brain feels like, for some reason, I did this, I learned this right after Kiri, right during Kiri's last days, when I was super stressed. Oh my God, so much stress. I'm amazed that I lived through it. But it just like, I realized that I felt boxed in by my circumstances, and so I just imagined my brain in a box, and I opened all the doors and threw the top off. And for some reason, that makes my brain feel more open, and it just relaxes me. I don't know. Everybody's got a different little thing that they do. Yeah. And I always imagine like I'm in a floating platform because I like water and trees. So I always imagine I'm floating in the middle of a little lake. And when the top, like, the front panel goes down, I can see like beautiful pine trees, and I'm bobbing. I can hear the water, and there's sunny sky, there's blue sky, and, and then I just finish it all and do that. So I can kind of imagine a tranquil, nice, relaxing. You might do it on a beach, depending on where your tranquil spot is. I imagine I could do it in a rainy kind of environment too, because I love rain so much. But all right, so let's do that white line. I haven't quite gotten that white line up on the bottom here. Yes, and that's when I do that exercise twistoma. That's when meditation will save you. You also could look into, if you've had medical testing recently, have them check your potassium levels. Sometimes we have too much sodium and not enough potassium, and that can make your brain really excitable. I find that making sure I get enough potassium is actually leads me to sleep better. But then again, it's just me, and everybody's different. Just a thing you might try for troubleshooting. All right, there we go. Now I've got that nice white line on the bottom. Now if I put this under here, we can see the sword. And I still haven't done the pure white up on the top, so I'm going to do that next. Imagination exercises are too stimulating. Normally, if I do that sort of thing, that's true in Aura. But if I go to that calm place and I just very carefully lower my sides of my box, like, that's good. Like I said, everybody's got a different thing, right? So some people do breathing. A lot of people do breathing, because then they can blank their mind out and just concentrate on the breathing. For me, for some reason, that never works. I have to like make an imaginative effort to free my mind. But the box works for me. I don't know. I'm glad I stumbled onto it. I was actually practicing meditation every day when that happened. It's probably the only thing that saved me when Kiri was going downhill, because it does help with stress. But yeah, I don't remember how I found it, but that little meditation thing really did it. Although one I do like, and this is actually, it's not an imagination thing, but it's a feel your body one. And if you've done any meditation, you've probably run into this. But it's going through your whole body from your scalp down and imagining relaxing that part. So like your scalp and your forehead and your eyelids and your cheeks and your jaw, especially, because a lot of us grind our teeth, right? And then down your neck and your shoulders. And you just kind of go down the whole body and just imagine relaxing every little bit. And that can be enough sometimes. Used to meditate? Yeah. Oh, yeah, have fun, Twistoma. Or don't have fun, but, I hope it goes well. How about that? But yeah, I don't do daily meditation anymore, although I always feel like that's something I should make 5 minutes for every day. It's just difficult, as you all know. It's difficult to make the time in the middle of everything else. Like, you're like, oh, I can skip meditation. Oh, does it really help at all? Oh, it's only 5 minutes. It's easy to skip. Yeah, daydreaming is good because you can just let your brain be free. Absolutely. I agree with that one, Agent Marvel. That can be really helpful. My problem is when my daydreaming involves things that I really want to do the next day, and then my brain gets all excited. Then I have to go to the box. Get in your box, Anne. But I know the box actually physiologically works for me because I've done it in doctor's offices when my blood pressure comes off too high. And I'll be like, give me 2 minutes. And then they'll do it again and it'll be fine. This last doctor's visit, I actually did it before the doctor came in and it was perfect blood pressure. All right, so we're putting in a little bit of white. There, you see how that really brings up the shine there? NMM is not complete without pure white, guys. If your stuff looks like rock or stone and not like metal, 1, check that your shadows are dark, and 2, check that you're doing pure white highlights. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Turgeon, exactly. Yeah, those are all good tricks. I mean, and a lot of them are ones you don't have to be lying down to do if you want a relaxation space in your day. There were definitely times I used to just take a walk around my lunch, and then I would go sit by the fountain in our old apartment complex, and I would just like do my box trick and just try to watch the water. Oh, yeah. Stretching. Yeah, I do stretching before bed. Do my physical therapy exercises and a little bit of relaxed yoga. To relax my shoulders a lot. My shoulders and neck get so tense doing all this stuff where we're sitting here in the box. Again, we're in the box. Gotta let ourselves out of the box. Just a little bit more on the underside there to bring that up. I did take my white line down a little bit there, so I'm going to re-put it in. All right, there we are. So shiny. So you can see the top. Oh, so shiny. Shiny, shiny. Look at that. Look at that, guys. Shiny. Shiny, huh? It's good stuff. I could narrow it down a little. I could bring it up a little bit. If I was really futzing with this, I would bring up the underside just a little bit more. But it takes a lot of time, and so I'm going to go to the other side and make it shiny next. Yeah, so that's an on the sword. This is the easiest. Yes, it takes time, especially if you're going to do the little wobblies, the little, highlight shadow bands that are so in fashion lately. But this is the easiest. If you just execute on the lighter top, darker bottom, darker there, put your white highlights all around, do a little bit lighter on the under edge here. And you can, a sword like this that's held out horizontally is the easiest subject to do NMM on. There you go, we're in focus. Yeah, that too. Yeah, these are all good tricks, guys. Yeah, Richard, you missed all our talk on how to like relax and meditate and tricks for like falling asleep if your brain won't shut down and stuff. We're definitely in the sleep self-helpery sleep and meditation self-helpery. But yeah, I mean, I should find a time where it makes sense for me to meditate and just do it. The key is just like getting your brush control to the point where you can, and that's why I tell people, honestly, Kodiak, that's why I tell people sometimes you want to go up to a 54 millimeter or a 72, because although 28s feel easier because they're smaller, when you're trying to blend or do really precise work, having more room to do so, if you don't have super fine brush control yet, can be a real boon, can help you. And the other thing is just thinning your paint enough. Most people don't thin their paints nearly enough, or they have too much paint on the brush, or both. Ah, itchy. I've got this hair that just wants to fall down and tickle my nose. There. All right. So now let's do that on the back. Pop this off again. So we're going to take our gray liner mixed with a tiny bit of our cloudy gray and a little bit of our carbon scoring blue, because we just reached for a random blue gray to mix with our NMM. By the way, if I was using blue on the model, I would use that blue to mix in to my NMM. I wouldn't reach for a different blue. So it blorfed up a little bit at the end of the fuller, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. We just want that nice dark shadow in the fuller down the middle. There we go. So that's a nice dark shadow we got. Oh, Richard. The other thing that helps me to sleep is exercise, as long as I don't do it too close to bedtime. All right, we're going to paint the top area of the sword light gray again. So it's a lighter color than the underside. I mean, there's all sorts of tricks. And sometimes if you can't sleep, like I said, it can be a nutritional thing. Potassium and magnesium are both tied to better sleep. And a lot of people don't get enough potassium in their diets. So, like, eat half of a banana or something. Yeah. Oh, but that varies for everybody, Richard, the amount of sleep that you need. Bananas, coconut water, other stuff that has high potassium, mango. Just going to do a couple of layers of this to get it nice and solid. There. But honestly, I usually just take a potassium tablet. Like, if I feel like I've had very salty food for supper, I'll just, usually potassium pills are only 100 milligrams each, so I'll take one. You definitely don't want to OD on potassium. It can be dangerous, but at the same time, the pills are such little potassium that... Oh, dairy also has a fair amount of potassium, but I know a lot of you are dairy-free. Yeah, function is all relative. Yeah, that actually, I have a plantain on the counter right now, Agent Marvel. I'm so excited. You can freeze it, Pendrake. I watch my carbs, so I would only eat half the banana if I did it that way. But you could actually slice them up and freeze them and use them in smoothies. If you didn't know, I'm back to eating smoothies, so I'm like so happy about that. That's the one thing I'm gonna have to figure out. How to keep my smoothie habit and make sure I'll have to drop the carbs out of everywhere else so that I can still have my smoothies, because I do really like my post-workout protein smoothie, and it's got fruit in it, frozen bananas and mangoes. All right, so we're getting there. So now we got to put our shadows in, remember? So let's do our shadows. We can even compare to the other side of the blade. We want to put them roughly in the same spots. Doesn't matter if they're precise. Yeah, chocolate also has. Dark chocolate has a lot of potassium as well. That's true, you could just dip it into dark chocolate. Like, I love bananas, but they are very carby for me, so if I do allow myself to eat one, it has to be half of one. No. Horrid things. Then you should seek your potassium elsewhere, Richard. Depending on where I am in the carb cycle, I've done everything from coconut water to just the Atkins dark chocolate shakes actually have a load of potassium. They do have dairy, so when I started to phase off dairy, I stopped drinking those, but they used to be my potassium go-to, because I think the dark chocolate variety has like over 600 milligrams of potassium in it. So we're blocking in those darker spots, just like the other side. Just like the other, got it, underside. We're going to slowly darken them. Since I've thinned my paint to this extent, it means I need to put more than one layer on, but it means that you can blend it. Yeah. Yeah, I have frozen bananas for banana bread before. When they had reached the appropriate dark but not oozy stage. Sadly, banana bread is one of my, like, will eat it if it's in the house things, so I have to watch it. Banana bread and chocolate chip cookies. Like, when I stress baked, I don't remember when it was, but it was just recently where I was stressing out. I think it was at the start of when we came back from ReaperCon, and I realized how much I had to do, and I actually baked a batch of chocolate chip cookies, half a batch, because I know myself. And it's like, chocolate chip cookies are the, like, Anne's willpower is constantly rolling if they're in the house. Like, and eventually my willpower depletes and I just eat 3. It's just like, they're my kryptonite. I make them symmetrical because what those are meant to simulate, Richard, are areas on the ground that are reflecting something darker. And so if you're reflecting on this side of the blade, they're probably reflecting similarly on the other side, but it's not necessarily true. So you could make them different if you wanted. I'm making them symmetrical in this case. A limit of 3 counts as willpower. I do have that, David. I honestly, there is a point when I realize that I just don't feel good. That is the only good side effect of my gastro malfunctions, is that if I do eat too much, I will feel like crap. And it'll start, like, there's a point where my stomach just informs me, and I'm just like, oh, okay, we stop now. If I don't, I pay for it medically. So I've gotten very good at eating less over the years, but chocolate chip cookies, they'll be like, you could just skip lunch and eat us. So yeah, I had to hide them in the freezer, and then, even then, they were not safe. They were not safe. I make very tasty chocolate chip cookies. Ask Bobby Jackson. For years, I would make chocolate chip cookies for when Ed had the sculptors over. After ReaperCon, like, usually he'd have the sculptors and painters over to his house and do dinner. So there, we got our little bars on there. Now I'm going to blend them in with some of my base coat. Make sure they're nice and blendy. They're pretty blendy, but I'm going to make sure they're good. Oh, and I need to make sure there's a dark line all the way under this, the little white line on the bottom of this fuller. So even though my shadow patches are here, I still need a dark line over the whole thing. And that's why I've thinned this gray liner so much, because it lets me have the control of doing a really fine line. And of course it's going to hook up with the top part of each of these shadow patches. There. Now I've got a dark line, and I can make that darker. Yeah, that's what you're doing, Richard. Actually, one second. I have... Can I find it quickly? I think I remember what year it was. Let's see if I can find it quick. Okay, here we go. Can I find it quick? We're going to see if I can find this quick. I really need to delete some of these photos. I say that every time I go through here. I'm trying to find my Ren Fair photos. I've showed them before. Aha, I'm getting close, I think. Dang it. Too much dog show. Too much dog show, not enough Renaissance Fair. Can I just say that? I went to BlizzCon that year, that's right. Alright, if I don't find it soon, then we're just going to say no. Maybe I can see it on that. No. Gonna have to find it. But now I'll remember. Next, if I can find it, I'll remember. Adapticon. I keep thinking I'm getting close. Ah, here we go. Got it. 2019 instead of 2018. So the shadows and blades are entirely due to shadows in the surroundings. You're seeing these shadows in the blades because there are people standing here blocking the light directly out from this blade. There are people standing here. You can see the skin color. And they are blocking the light that's coming in around this booth at the Renaissance Fair. So when you see this dark shadow down here on the underside of this blade, you're dealing with the dark handles and stuff down here. There isn't anything directly reflecting light up at the underside of this blade because it's all dark down near the floor, and you've got all this black leather and stuff here. Does that make sense? So that's what you're painting. This is exactly what you're painting. In fact, you can see it. You can see a little bit of green here from the outside. So if you if you are building a diorama and you are cognizant of what's around your model, you can do that. You can put like some red, some green. You know, if that's the thing, if those are the things around. Well, I took this picture on purpose to be a miniature, an NMM reference for people. Actually, I took a bunch of them. So there's another one. So you can see the green from the trees reflecting on the shield here. You can see how the light comes in. You can see the reflections. You can see how we go from very bright to very dark, up to bright, down to dark, up to bright. You can see that white line around the shield. See it? See this white line? That's reflecting light. So when we say do that white line around things, that's why. And you're getting that because the shield is really close to the outside wall, whereas some of these swords aren't. Also, if you really looked close to these swords, you might notice a micro reflection around them, but you can't see it at this scale, whereas the shield with that rim, you can see it. Oh, no, not Bristol. This was in Texas, so Scarborough? I'm trying to see if there's others. Yeah, here's another one. So these are big flat blades, and so you don't get as much. But look, what do we see? We see a white line around the edge, don't we? And we see another one down here. Like I said, these are powerful, so you can see them at this range. You can even see the white line right around this top edge, see? So this is what we're painting, guys. This is what you're painting. This is where it comes from. It comes from reality. Are we exaggerating it? Absolutely. Does it work? Absolutely. So there you go. You can even see it on the trident. Look at that. So again, are we exaggerating it? Yes. Does it work? Yes. But yeah, it's the Texas Renaissance Festival in not the big one, not TRF. But I think it's Scarborough. It's in Waxahachie, Texas. That was where I lived for. I mean, I grew up in Bristol actually, but I lived in Texas for 17 years. Oh, this is a really good one. When you're in a really dark environment, you get a lot more shadow, but you still have those lines. You lose the white line as it comes up against this dark area where no light can get in. But notice how long you keep it. You keep a reflection there. Way up into the shadow. Yeah, museums, Ren fairs. Museums are a little, in my experience, a little less useful than, say, reenactment or Renaissance fairs, Kerniko, just because museums, it's usually all indoors. And the lighting is not what you'd see in the outside world. Whereas Renaissance fairs are all outdoors. I don't know if you have Ren fairs over there, because you have the actual Renaissance in Europe, I would say. Yeah, there's a lot of spotlights, and so it's going to throw off. You won't really get an idea of natural lighting in a museum. You can still learn stuff from it if you can look at where the lighting is and remember, okay, well, this is what I'm seeing, right? You can still learn a lot. But, yeah, if you were doing or if you were in a desert, you'd see a lot of, like, tan and brown under, reflections, right? So it's reflecting that's why I tend to go toward a blue, and often I'll take part of the blue that I've used to mix into the gray. If I really feel like it, I'll mix it with white, and I'll actually add some blue lights on the top here so that it looks like it's reflecting the sky directly. Oh, you have Mellonir. Yeah, so battle reenactments would be the way to go. Go to the reenactment places and tell guys that, hey, I paint fantasy figures and historical figures, and can I take some pictures of you in your armor so I can have lighting references? And usually they're happy. They're happy to. Yeah, so I would encourage anybody to do that kind of thing. Whatever you've got near you that it gives you those. I whip out those references a lot. Like mostly I have it re-internalized them, but because they're all different weapons at that weapon shop, especially like the trident and the big flat polearms, it reminds me of how little or how much you could see in each, like, all those weird weapons. So, just gonna get my white in here. Get it around the edges. A little bit of blurf at the tip there. We'll fix it. So that's starting to read correctly. And because, although it's less with the Siocast, where we don't have that flat, where you had to make weapons really, really thick with metal casting. So you often have a flat edge here. It's a lot less with Siocast. You do usually still need to highlight both sides of the blade because there's still enough of a tiny little thickener there. But yeah, so, I mean, it's a fun field trip, and it helps you with your mini painting, so, hey, go for it. Let's see, where did I put my shadows? Okay. So again, we're using just our base coat gray to start marking in our shadows. What are you doing in there, Kiki? I think a Keekster is pounding the glass on our big windows, on our patio windows, trying to scare away the rats and squirrels. There we go. So now I can bring this in. Actually, there. There, you can see it. What are you doing, Papa? What are you up to? It's almost time, Keeks. But yeah, like, and cool, you can meet cool people too at like reenactment things and Renaissance fairs, so I always had fun. Alright, so again, I'm mixing just a tiny bit of my gray liner with my cloudy gray here to bring just a little bit of more of a shadow into the center here. But again, not nearly as dark as they are on the underside of the blade. You're looking more at that. And then when you bring your white in, these are going to look much darker. So remember, when you first put them in, don't make them too dark. Your gut is going to say, oh, it needs to be darker because you don't have white in here yet for a reference. But once you put that white in there, that little tiny bit of shadow is going to look a lot darker. So just be careful how dark you make it. You can always take in a little bit more shadow later. And because I thinned it a lot, it blends in pretty well. Keekers! What's up, Kiki? I hear you. She's probably looking in my direction going... Alright, so we're almost done. So we're going to bring in our pure white and we're going to edge the whole thing. So pure white in the middle here. Between these two. And I keep my pure white pretty, you can broaden it, like on those weapons that I showed. If you want, you can have a big, broad white highlight. Or you can make it tighter, like I am. Doesn't matter. Just a different style. It's going to give you a different effect. Since we're over-exaggerating anyway, it's not like, don't overthink it. Now, if you're doing a historical model, then it might be to your benefit to overthink it a little bit. But chances are, if you're doing NMM on a historical model, those guys are going to look at you funny anyway. Sorry to any historical people watching this, but it's true. It's very much a comic book / fantasy thing, and I don't know that you see much of it over there in the historical realm. At least not here in the States. There's a lot more crossover in Europe between the two communities. I'm going to grab my light gray and try to blend this in a little bit better. Just a little bit more blended. If I have to, I can glaze over the top. If I find that I've really lost, like if I'm seeing a lot of brush strokes and I'm like, oh noes, then I will glaze over this whole thing. I'm putting that thin layer of light gray will take my shadow down, but it will blend everything in. Okay, so now we'll do the white. Meeting time. Bye, Crowley. It was good to see you. Have fun at your meeting, or at least don't lose too many brain cells. And we're just going to do this edging, and then we'll be done. I've done that. Pendrake. I used to have an RMM. I did it as a present for my ex. I did a Viking warrior with his dog. And I did the real metal. It's fun. Especially if you're using oils to, like, do the shadows. It can be a fun technique. You know Crowley's never going to stop doing that now, right, Quindy? Because it worked. It works every once in a, like, 1 out of 30 times it'll work. And it's like a dog. Once it works once, you're doomed. Don't start, Zachariah. Don't be banned. I need you not to get banned, okay? But it's true, right? If your dog has success getting tasty steak one time by putting its paws up on the counter, you're done. For the rest of its life, it's going to try it. It's going to be like, that one time, I got tasty steak. Oh, Kiki had her first duck last night. I actually was... I was energized, and also I knew that with the Overwatch League finals happening today and through Sunday, I was not going to be cooking. So I made fancy seared duck breast last night in cast iron with port sauce reduction and fried potatoes and oh gosh, I guess we just did asparagus for the vegetable. Oh no, Quinty. That's so funny. That's so funny. Did you keep the piece of paper? Alright, so we've got the light now on the bottom. That's pretty funny. Yeah, he is bratty like a corgi, isn't he? I can see him. I can see why he has corgis. That mischief. Mischief and brattiness. The two hallmarks of the corgi clan. Alright, now we got shiny. We got shiny. And we got shiny. Shiny. It's very shiny. You can see the white lines all around it. Now the hilt looks totally wrong because it's not shiny. Bet you nobody cracked you up. Good. But you can see now what I said when we didn't have any. We only had white here, right? And then we had white back here. But I was like, no, because from the back, once I do the sword, it's going to balance out. And now it does, because there's enough white on the sword, because you need that white for the shiny, for you to get those light points now on the back of the figure. So you've got 3, and the eye will pull around the figure with that. So it was too much for a while on the shield. Oh, hi there, Kiki. Would you like to say hello to everyone's? Would you like to say hello? Oh, come up. Hi. Hi, we missed you. Oh, we missed you, little paw. We missed you, paw. Yeah, here. I think you got it. I've got you. You're solid. You're solid. Yes, you're a good girl. You trying to tell me it's walk time? Oh, you're trying to tell me it's eat my Fitbit time? Yeah. There, I've got a Keeks. Oh, come on. I want your paws. Give me your paws. Oh, no, I don't want your mouth. I don't know. No. Aw. Too mouthy. What about that mouth? I don't want mouth. I did not call you in here for mouth. I called you in here for dog noogies. Noogies. Dog noogies. I don't know why you tolerate those. But you do. Alright, yes, the Keeks came. Who's a good Keeks? You are a good Keeks. Keeks. You're a good girl. Yeah, she wants her walk. That's why she's here. She's like, it's 11:05. It's time to end the stream. Yeah. Good girl. All right, so Kiki, our alarm dog, has. Yeah, I didn't see anything on my end. It may have been on your end, Turgeon. You missed the Kiki. Keeks. Please don't eat whatever's behind me on the floor. Oh, please don't eat these. Please don't eat my flannel. I knew you were interested in something back there, Bubba. I knew. So yeah. there you go, guys. There we are. And yeah, you can find good armor and reference pics if you look around online a little bit. There's a Facebook group that Kirill recommends with a lot of reenactment guys who are essentially showing close-ups of their costume pieces with natural textures. It's really, I wish I could remember the name of it. Oh, okay. So Twitch. Yay, it's not my computer. That's all I care about. Having blown money on this new computer. That is all I care about. So, awesome. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow is our last stream before Spooky October kicks in. And we are mermaiding. We're mermaiding. We're probably going to put the highlights, continue with the highlights on the hair. And we might do the lining on the scales. I really love how that green is coming up next to the tail down here. I really like that a lot. So yeah, we're back to mermaid, and we're doing her very colorful self. Yeah. So show up tomorrow, and maybe I'll even block in the banner or something. I don't know. I'm feeling like I do want to block in some other stuff on her. I might make her shells an off-white as well. I'm just thinking about it. And then of course her beer flagon. We have to figure out if we're doing that in glass or in some other material, or if it's wood. But yeah, the highlights are there. We haven't done any of the, yeah, it looks like a wooden flagon, actually. So then we'll get foam. It'll be the other light aspect. So yeah, so the scales are coming along. It's really good. And we'll do stuff tomorrow. We'll probably finish highlighting the hair. Maybe we'll do the shading on the scales, like the lining on the scales, to really bring out that it's scales. And then maybe we will have the time to like do some little highlights on the scales as well to bring everything together. Yeah, it depends on what we feel like, but that's what we're going to do tomorrow here on Reaper Pro Tips. And then we're in October, so I'm going to have to prep all those spooky models, and we're going to have Spooky October. And maybe I should base Werewolf. What do you guys think? Should I finally base, remember Wolfie? Should I finally find a base for Wolfie? Should we build one? Maybe we should do it. Wolfie fell on his head. Because he really needs a base. He really needs a base. And I love him so much. He's my little mascot. All right, guys. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And I will leave you now and give Quindy time to recover before she has to do Reaper Live. And we all know how that is. I haven't decided if we're doing NMM or True Metallics. I'll think about it, Pendrake. I'll think about it. All right? Thanks. Bye-bye, guys.